The Bersaglieri, Italian pronunciation, Bersaglieri, Marksmen in English, are a corps of the Italian army originally created by General Alessandro La Marmora on 18 June 1836 to serve in the army of the Kingdom of Sardinia, later to become the Royal Italian Army. They have always been a high-mobility light infantry unit, and can still be recognized by the distinctive wide-brimmed hat that they wear, only in dress uniform in modern times, decorated with black capercaillie feathers. The feathers are usually applied to their combat helmets. Another distinctive trait of the Bersaglieri is the fast jog pace they keep on parades, instead of marching. Origins and history. The relatively poor Kingdom of Sardinia could not afford large numbers of cavalry, so a quick-moving infantry corps of marksmen were needed. These troops were trained to high physical and marksmanship standards. Like the French chasseurs à pied, a level of independence and initiative was encouraged so that they could operate in looser formations, in which direct command and control was not required. They fired individually and carried 60 rounds instead of the standard 40 rounds of traditional line infantry. The first uniform was black with brimmed hats, called vera. These were intended to defend the head from saber blows. The first public appearance of the Bersaglieri was on the occasion of a military parade on 1 July 1836. The first company marched through Turin with the rapid, high-stepping gait, 180 paces per minute, still used by the Bersaglieri in World War II and later. The modern Bersaglieri still run both on parade and even during barracks duty, on penalty of punishment if they do not. The new corps impressed King Charles Albert, who immediately had them integrated as part of the Piedmontese regular army. The corps grew rapidly, and by 1852 there were already 10 battalions, each with 4 companies. Throughout the 19th century the Bersaglieri filled the role of skirmishers, screening the slow-moving line and column formations, but acting as special shock troops if required. They were originally intended to serve as mountain troops as well. The climber Jean-Antoine Carrel was a Bersagliere. When the Alpini Corps were created in 1872, a strong rivalry arose between the two elite corps. Unified Italy. During the First War of Italian Independence, 1848 to 1849, the Bersaglieri distinguished themselves by storming the bridge at Goichu. In 1855, the Bersaglieri provided 5 battalions for the Sardinian Expeditionary Corps in the Crimean War, where they were involved in the Battle of the Cernier, but suffered more casualties due to a cholera epidemic. While in the Crimea, the Bersaglieri acquired a red fez with a blue tassel, in imitation of that worn by the French Zouaves with whom they served, as their everyday headgear. When the Armata Sarda became the Regio Esercito, Royal Italian Army, in 1860, the existing 36 battalions were used to create 6 Bersaglieri regiments, which had administrative and disciplinary duties. The regiments were assigned to the Army Corps, with the regiment's battalions assigned to the divisions in the corps as reconnaissance units. 1st Bersaglieri Regiment under 1st Army Corps with the IX, 13, 19, 21 and 27 battalions. 2nd Bersaglieri Regiment under 2nd Army Corps with the 2 IV, X, 15, 17 and 18 battalions. 3rd Bersaglieri Regiment under 3rd Army Corps with the 3 V, 8, XX, 23 and 25 battalions. 4th Bersaglieri Regiment under 4th Army Corps with the VI, 7, She, 12, 35 and 36 battalions. 5th Bersaglieri Regiment under 5th Army Corps with the 14, 16, 22, 24, 26 and 34 battalions. 6th Bersaglieri Regiment under 6th Army Corps with the 28th, 29, XXX, 31, 32 and 33 battalions. The most famous action of the Bersaglieri occurred on 20 September 1870, when the 12th Bersaglieri Battalion stormed Rome through a breach created by Italian artillery in the Aurelian Walls near Porta Pia, leading to the capture of Rome and end of the temporal power of the Pope, thus completing the unification of Italy. A monument was erected in 1932 in front of Porta Pia to commemorate the event, at the same time as the National Museum of the Bersaglieri Corps was moved to Porta Pia, where it resides still today. In 1871, the Bersaglieri Corps added another 4 battalions and the regiments were increased from 6 to 10 and given also operational command of the battalions. In 1883 a further 2 regiments were added for a total of 12 Bersaglieri regiments, 1 for each army corps with 3 battalions per regiment. Therefore, the 4 battalions raised in 1871 were disbanded. 1st Bersaglieri Regiment under 1st Army Corps with the I-7 and IX battalions. 2nd Bersaglieri Regiment under 2nd Army Corps with the 2 IV and 17 battalions. 3rd Bersaglieri Regiment under 3rd Army Corps with the 18 XX and 25 battalions. 4th Bersaglieri Regiment under 4th Army Corps with the 26, 29 and 31 battalions. 5th Bersaglieri Regiment under 5th Army Corps with the 14, 22 and 24 battalions. 6th Bersaglieri Regiment under 6th Army Corps with the VI, 13 and 19 battalions. 7th Bersaglieri Regiment under 7th Army Corps with the 8 X and She battalions. 8th Bersaglieri Regiment under 8th Army Corps with the 3 V and 12 battalions. 9th Bersaglieri Regiment under 9th Army Corps with the 28th XXX and 32 battalions. 10th Bersaglieri Regiment under 10th Army Corps with the 16, 34 and 35 battalions. 11th Bersaglieri Regiment under 11th Army Corps with the 15, 27 and 33 battalions. 12th Bersaglieri Regiment under 12th Army Corps with the 21, 23 and 36 battalions. World War I. During World War I, the 12 Bersaglieri regiments were augmented by 9 newly raised regiments and fought with distinction on the Italian front. Of the 210,000 members of Bersaglieri regiments, 32,000 were killed and 50,000 wounded during the war. Italy's last surviving World War I veteran, Delfino Borroni, served in the 6th Bersaglieri Bologna. Another member who served and was wounded was Benito Mussolini. A contingent of Bersaglieri was sent to participate in the Sinai and Palestine campaign in 1917, when they were attached to the Egyptian Expeditionary Force commanded by General Edmund Allenby. Their mainly political role was to assert hereditary ecclesiastical prerogatives in connection with the Christian churches at Jerusalem and Bethlehem. Quote, after the war, the 9 wartime regiments were disbanded and the number of Bersaglieri battalions in the remaining regiments reduced to 2 per regiment. A new role was seen for the light infantry as part of Italy's commitment to mobile warfare. The post-war Bersaglieri were converted into bicycle troops to fight alongside cavalry in the Celery, fast divisions. Elite units with high morale and an aggressive spirit were seen as one way to break such tactical stalemates as the trench warfare of 1915–18. The Bersaglieri gave Italy highly trained formations suitable for service with both cavalry and tanks. When the armoured divisions were formed in 1939, the link between the Bersaglieri and mobile warfare continued. Each new armoured and motorized division was allocated 1 Bersaglieri regiment. Interwar period. A single Bersaglieri regiment, the 3rd Bersaglieri, took part in the Second Italo-Ethiopian War in October 1935, invading from Eritrea as part of the 30th Infantry Division Sarbauda under General Italo Garibaldi. There, they took part in the Christmas Offensive and the Battle of Ambara Aradam, among others. The regiment was detached and sent back to Asmara in March 1936 to join a new unit, the East Africa Fast Column under Achilles Staris. World War II. Italy began the Second World War with 12 Bersaglieri regiments of 3 battalions each. Over the preceding years the army had resisted suggestions to dilute their quality, and recruits continued to be of above-average size and stamina, endured intense physical training and had to qualify as marksmen. During the war an additional Bersaglieri regiment, the 18th, with 3 battalions was raised, but only one of its battalions saw actual combat. 1st Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions I-7, 9th Corps asset of the 3rd Army Corps, but joined the 2nd Cavalry Division Emanuele Filiberto Testa di Ferro in March 1942. 2nd Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions II, IV, 17, 3rd Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions 18, XX, 25, part of the 3rd Cavalry Division Amadeo Duca d'Asta, 4th Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions 26, 29, 31, 5th Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions 14, 22, 24, part of the 131st Armored Division Centauro, 6th Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions VI, 13, 19, originally part of the 2nd Cavalry Division Emanuele Filiberto Testa di Ferro, joined the 3rd Cavalry Division Amadeo Duca d'Asta on the Eastern Front in March 1942. 7th Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions 8, X. She part of the 102nd Motorized Division Trento. 8th Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions 3, V. 12, part of the 132nd Armored Division Ariete. 9th Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions 28th, XXX, 32, part of the 101st Motorized Division Trieste. 10th Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions 16, 34, 35. 11th Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions 15, 27, 33, part of the 1st Cavalry Division Eugenio di Savoia. 12th Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions 21, 23, 36, part of the 133rd Armored Division Littorio. 18th Bersaglieri Regiment with the battalions LXVII, LXVIII, LXIX garrison unit in the south of France. LXVII battalion was sent to the Eastern Front in spring 1942. The Bersaglieri fought in southern France and then in Greece. Later Bersaglieri regiments were also deployed on the Eastern Front. 1 battalion of Bersaglieri participated in the East African Campaign. After the armistice of Cassibile between the Kingdom of Italy and Western Allies on 8 September 1943, Italy split in half. The Republic of Salo continued the war alongside Nazi Germany. Its army, the Fascist National Republican Army, raised the 1st Italia Bersaglieri Division, which was attached to the German 14th Army in a sector on the northern Apennines. The division fought along the Gothic Line, and at the end of the final Allied offensive, along with 2 Wehrmacht and last Italian Fascist Army divisions, surrendered after the Battle of Collecchio. On the other side of the front, the Italian co-belligerent army raised a Bersaglieri battalion as part of the Legnano combat group from remnants of the 4th Bersaglieri Regiment. Cold War. During the Cold War, the Bersaglieri were exclusively employed as mechanized infantry. The Bersaglieri battalions were part of the armored and mechanized regiments of the Army's armored divisions, with the mechanized regiments fielding 2 bersaglieri and 1 tank battalion, while the tank regiments fielded 2 tank and 1 bersaglieri battalion. Attached to the motorized division were armored infantry regiments, which consisted of 1 tank and 1 bersaglieri battalion. Without exception, the bersaglieri battalions were armed with M113 armored personnel carriers. The only 2 active bersaglieri regiments at that time were the 3rd Bersaglieri and 8th Bersaglieri Regiment in the Centauro Armored Division and the Ariete Armored Division, respectively. In 1975, the Army abolished the regimental level and battalions became independent under newly formed brigades. The Army formed the Goitu Mechanized Brigade with the regimental command and units of the 3rd Bersaglieri Regiment and the Garibaldi Mechanized Brigade with the regimental command and units of the 8th Bersaglieri Regiment. Both brigades received 1 extra Bersaglieri battalion from disbanded armored infantry regiments, and both fielded only personnel, with the exception of the tank crews and artillerists, from the Bersaglieri Corps. When the battalions became independent, they received the flags and traditions of disbanded Bersaglieri regiments, and each battalion was given an honorary name commemorating a significant event in which it had participated. E.g., the 3rd Bersaglieri Battalion, Cernaia, received its honorary name to commemorate the conduct of the regiment in the Battle of the Chernaya in Crimea during the Crimean War in 1855. In the following list of Bersaglieri units active in 1986, the honorary names link to the articles about the historic events for which they were awarded. 1st Bersaglieri Battalion, La Marmora, in Civitavecchia. Granatieri di Sardegna Mechanized Brigade. 2nd Bersaglieri Battalion, Governlo, in Legnano. Legnano Mechanized Brigade. 3rd Bersaglieri Battalion, Cernaia, in Pordenone. Garibaldi Mechanized Brigade. 6th Bersaglieri Battalion, Palestro, in Turin. Goitu Mechanized Brigade. 10th Bersaglieri Battalion, Bazecca, in Solbiatolona. Goitu Mechanized Brigade. 11th Bersaglieri Battalion, Caprera, in Orsenico Superior. Garibaldi Mechanized Brigade. 14th Bersaglieri Training Battalion, Senaglia, in Albenga. 3rd Army Corps. 18th Bersaglieri Battalion, Poggio Scano, in Milan. Goitu Mechanized Brigade. 23rd Bersaglieri Battalion, Castel di Borgo, in Tauriano. Marmelli Armored Brigade. 26th Bersaglieri Battalion, Castelfidardo, in Maniago. Garibaldi Mechanized Brigade. 27th Bersaglieri Battalion, Damiano, in Aviano. Ariete Armored Brigade. 28th Bersaglieri Battalion, Oslavia, in Bellinzago Noveres. Centauro Armored Brigade. 67th Bersaglieri Battalion, Fagara, in Pisano. Pinerolo Mechanized Brigade. Additionally, the Bersaglieri fielded 5 anti-tank companies, 1 per Bersaglieri and 1 per armored brigade. Ariete, Centauro and Mameli Armored Brigade. With the end of the Cold War, the Italian army began a reduction in personnel and units, which also affected the Bersaglieri. On 1 June 1991, the Goitu Mechanized Brigade was disbanded, while the Garibaldi Mechanized Brigade moved to the southern city of Caserta, as the army had decided to reduce the number of units in the north of Italy. The Garibaldi arrived in Caserta on 1 July 1991 and changed its name to 8th Bersaglieri Brigade, Garibaldi. Also in 1991, the battalions of the army were renamed as regiments without changing composition. Today, while in the past the mobility of the Bersaglieri was helped by their training in running and by the aid of bicycles, regiments currently in service are all mechanized. The modern Bersaglieri have served as part of the Garibaldi Bersaglieri Brigade. as peacekeepers in the multinational force in Lebanon and in Yugoslav and Somali civil wars, and were also active in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Bersaglieri traditions are still stressed. The Bersaglieri collar patches are crimson-red flames. Enlisted troops still wear the red fez. Officers wear black berets with their ordinary uniforms, but the feathered vera in ceremonial uniform. They also wear black gloves, while other Italian regiments wear white ones. Each Bersaglieri unit had a band called a fanfara, who played their instruments at the run while on parade. The fanfara does not contain percussion instruments. Today only the Garibaldi Brigade, Ariete Brigade and 7th Bersaglieri Regiment retain a fanfara. The 1953 movie Roman Holiday, starring Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck, includes a stunning film clip of a Bersaglieri fanfara as part of a military parade in the early part of the picture. 1st Bersaglieri Regiment with the La Marmora Battalion in Cosenza as a part of the Garibaldi Bersaglieri Brigade. 3rd Bersaglieri Regiment with the Poggio Scano Battalion in Tulada as part of the Sassari Mechanized Brigade. 6th Bersaglieri Regiment with the Palestro Battalion in Trapani as part of the Aosta Mechanized Brigade. 7th Bersaglieri Regiment with the Bazecca Battalion in Bari as part of the Pinerolo Mechanized Brigade. 8th Bersaglieri Regiment with the Cernaia Battalion in Caserta as part of the Garibaldi Bersaglieri Brigade. 11th Bersaglieri Regiment with the Caprera Battalion in Orsenico Superior as part of the Ariete Armored Brigade. The 1st, 8th and 11th Bersaglieri Regiments serve in their traditional role as tracked, mechanized infantry in the Army's two heavy brigades, while the 3rd, 6th and 7th Bersaglieri Regiments are the 3rd maneuver element in wheeled mechanized infantry brigades. Bugle calls. In mid-1800 the Bersaglieri were born as light infantry sharpshooters fighting in loose skirmish formations, and specific bugle calls were used to direct the units in the confusion of the battlefield. Each battalion had its own specific bugle call played repeatedly to rally the troops or used as a sort of address before tactical bugle calls, to identify who the order was intended for. For example, a composite bugle call could be 1st Bersaglieri plus company plus right near 3 inches plus deploy in open order, chase, Patrick J. Seek, strike, destroy. The history of the 894th Tank Destroyer Battalion in World War II. Gateway Press, 1995. Page 90. Giannazzi, Andrea. Il Brasil in Guerra. La partecipazione della Forza Expeditionaria Brasileira alla Campagna d'Italia. 1944-1945. Quote. Italian. Prospettiva Editrice. 2004. ISBN 8741882,848. Pages 146-48. Popa, Thomas A. Po Valley 1945. World War II Campaigns. United States Army Center of Military History. 1996. ISBN 0-16048134-1. CMH Pub 72-33. Wavell. Field Marshal Earl. 1968. 1933. The Palestine Campaigns. In Shepherd. Eric William. A Short History of the British Army. 4th ed. London. Constable & Co. OCLC 35,621,223. Notes. Italian military report the capture of 300 British paratroopers by part of the Bersaglieri. Photos.